be a 6-time winner. Dale, for him, I mean, on paper you would think, okay, Jeff Gordon's got this. He's so good here. How hard is it, though, to be out of the car and come back like he's doing right now?
Yeah, we saw last week how difficult it was, getting to know the car and understanding what you need. He struggled a little bit here trying to find speed with the car. And we also talked about that this has been a team with Dale Jr. when he was in the car that struggled to get inside the top 10 recently. Yeah, they had a good second-place finish back here in June, but for the most part, they've struggled with speed a lot of the times too. So Jeff is finding that, but there's nobody better to bring your team up in this type situation. I know they all have their minds on Dale Jr., but Jeff Gordon knows how to get the job done here and can offer that organization a lot.
Yes, and has brought a lot to that organization over the last week and a half when you came. But I think let's go back to Indianapolis, and he said it really surprised him how aggressive everyone was still on these restarts. And this is a restart place. We've heard every driver we've talked to today in our pre-race and going green and all of this. Every driver that we've talked to has said you got to get what you can on those restarts. We heard it in Denny Hamlin's interview. We've heard it so much. So I think when you look at this, that's where Jeff said, I've got to go back home and think about these restarts coming to Pocono, because we're going to see these guys 6 wide at some point on this front stretch going into the first corner.
And something else that will be different for Jeff than last time he was here, there's more timing lines on pit road. Speeding, always something that we talk about at this race. I know Jeff, Steve, Rick Allen, the pit reporters are going to be talking a lot about it, but that could be something that's an obstacle for him today, Dale.
Yeah, it certainly is for all the drivers to look at, but they're going to have to understand that there are, and they know that there are more timing lines there, so more opportunities to speed on pit road. But if you make a mistake here, it's hard to come back from that. We've talked about how difficult the racing is, the aerodynamics of this. Yeah, these cars are fun to drive, but this makes it very difficult to pass because the competition is so close.
And then we also have, you see, driver introductions. We talked about Eric Almirola. That's Tricky the Fox, the track mascot here at Pocono. But, yeah, there's pit road. We talked about the restarts, but horsepower. Dale, you were talking about when you guys were racing here, and again, going back to that old pavement, we heard Denny Hamlin say it was turn 3. It was sort of where you get it going down that long straightaway. Now you have such finesse at all parts of this track.
Yeah, that's the only reason I can talk about ever winning here is because of the horsepower that Robert and Doug Yates gave me, and it's a big advantage. But you have to know how to use it, and that's what these drivers understand now. And these restarts are really one that you have to really get after it.
Driver introductions, that's Greg Biffle. He starts 25th. Let's go ahead and listen to driver introductions as fans get one more shot at Jeff Gordon.
Vallejo, California. Welcome back to Pocono, Jeff Gordon.
at Pocono. Our Mike Massaro caught up with another driver.
Carl Edwards is a two-time Pocono winner, but the last win came in 2008. Since then, the track's changed quite a bit. How has the formula for winning here changed?
I don't know if it's a much different formula. You have to have a great engine, which TRD provides great engines. You got to have a great strategy. Dave Rogers and my guys are good at that. And then the driver has to do his job. The restarts are really important. So hopefully we can do all that today, get Stanley to victory lane.
Restarts, it seems like the operative word this year. What have you guys done to improve upon that?
Well, I went ahead and had the worst restarts you could have last week. So we've changed some things, and I'm hoping today is better. It's something that we've really worked on, and I'll get some practice, and hopefully we can make it happen. But I think it's really going to be key.
Carl Edwards has a very fast race car, rolls off second today.
Yeah, fast indeed, and he finished 8th here in June. Carl Edwards, a two-time Pocono winner. We're going to hear from that driver, Jeff Gordon, coming up in just a bit as we continue with pre-race festivities here at Pocono.
Got a serious vibration, started hopping.
A fiery crash in turn one.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
It knocked the breath out of me. Definitely the hardest hit I've ever had in a race car.
Moments that make your jaw drop. We have certainly seen them here at Pocono. Nothing quite like it. Teams were just here less than 2 months ago. What did they keep in their back pocket? That guy, Kyle Busch, seems to rewrite the record books every time he steps into a car. Quite the reaction for Tony Stewart, racing here at Pocono for the final time, his last season. And as pre-race festivities continue, our Marty Snyder is with a driver that's back. Marty?
Even more so than Indianapolis, just really needing to back up the entry of the corner with this aero package, which is not my best trait. So, I really felt like we started hitting on that at the end of practice yesterday and made some gains. And, one thing I learned last week at Indy is that Greg and this 88 team, they know how to put a race together, and they did an excellent job. I got to improve on the restarts, but they did everything right as far as adjustments, pit stops, pit strategy, and I look forward to that same opportunity here today.
You mentioned restarts. What are the one or two things where you said after Indy, boy, I got to get better at that at Pocono next week?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination of where you set yourself up on somebody's quarter panel. You know, I on the very opening start, I let somebody, you know, get to the inside of me, take me 3 wide on the back straightaway, and that's just, you can't do that. So, you know, on the outside lane, I just was real loose. I just didn't have the grip. So playing with the track bar, playing with some air pressure adjustment, giving the team some feedback, you know, will help me do a better job here today. You know, we know how crazy the restarts are here. It's going to be intense.
Obviously, we all want Dale back in the 88 car, but is your calendar clear for next week? Do you plan to be at Watkins Glen if Dale does need you?
Well, as I found out through all this, and I want Dale back very quickly as well, just like everybody else does, but at his pace. But when Rick Hendrick calls you, somehow your calendar all of a sudden opens up even when it's not.
Right. So it'll magically clear up if it needs to for next week then.
We'll see. Let's wait until we get to that point.
That's right. We all want Dale back, but he would be a good substitute, a 4-time Watkins Glen winner, but we do hope Dale gets back in the 88 car next week. Parker Klingerman, I believe, right behind me as well with Kurt Busch.
Kurt is actually starting 15th today, but you won here in June. Do you have the same confidence that you can get there with this race car?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody at SHR and Tony Gibson, lead engineer Klossmeyer, everybody's like, man, we got the winning car from last time, but it's so different this time around because of the track temperature, the different rain delays that we've had. And so we just got to make sure we stay on top of our normal sequence and not try to deviate too far away from a winning package. But thanks to Monster Energy, House Automation, everybody on this team, we're having a great year. We keep plugging away, and you know, you want to win, but you also got to do a little bit of research and things to help get better prepared for the chase. Just got a great team, and we'll get the Chevy to victory lane again, I hope, today.
And Kurt, when we were teammates at Team Penske, a lot of the team revered you for your ability here at this track. And one of the things that always stuck out was your ability to make up time where the car maybe wasn't great. Like one corner, it didn't work as well. Is there a corner here today that you're kind of looking at to say, we need to get through that better, and you know you can carry the car through there?
Yeah, each time we come back, you're like, oh, I want to get better in turn 3 because we were tight that time, or I made good passes off of turn 1 into the tunnel turn. The times I've won here, the 3 races, I was really fast through the tunnel turn. That's where I think your lap time comes from, and we just got to get good and steady through there throughout the run. You know, a little tight to start, a little loose late, but really good group of guys, and we'll make the right adjustments.
It's Kurt Busch looking to do the Pocono season sweep. Marty?
Well, Parker, for Paul Menard, it's been a big week of changes. Danny Stockman coming over to the Cup Series side. So what kind of difference has that made? Seems like the team morale is certainly up on week 1.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different atmosphere. You know, we debuted a new car last week, brought it again here this weekend, and got some bugs worked out throughout the weekend last weekend through this week, and it's been fast so far here in Pocono each day. So, you know, sun's out right now, the track's drying. Hopefully we get going and get our mowing Menard's Chevy, keep it up front, get some good pit stops. We have a good pit box. Get Stockman and call a good race, and we'll be fine.
He made the decision Friday to stick in qualifying trim the entire day, and you were, at the end of the day, the fastest car. What sort of confidence did that give you and the race team?
Yeah, I mean, if you qualify up front, it just starts Sunday off so much better. You're not fighting for that track position. You just have to maintain it, try to go forward. And, you know, that's just a different philosophy that Stockman had. Normally, we probably wouldn't have done that, especially with the call for rain on Saturday. And luckily, we got practice in, a full practice yesterday. Got the car tuned up. And, you know, it's confidence, you know, starting up in 3rd place. It's, you know, ending P1 in position 1. I thought we had a good shot at the pole, and just you know, got beat by a little bit. But all in all, car's really fast. Maintain track position, make the right calls, make right adjustments. Driver can't screw up, and we'll be just fine.
Now, you're a very calm guy. Danny is not so calm. He's kind of high-strung. So is that relationship going to kind of balance each other out?
Yeah, I mean, Danny's he's a digger. You know, he gets into the you know, the details, and this sport's all about details. You know, Justin's a really smart engineer. Really helped develop this car that we're racing now. So I'm excited to see for the announcement what he's going to do back in RCR. He's going to stay with the organization, and we got a cool spot for him when they announce it. Right now, Stockman's he's a what do you call a bull in a china shop right now.
Exactly right. You know, his 1 Cup win at Indianapolis came 5 years ago. Today, he's hoping July 31st is good to him once again. Parker.
Thanks, Marty. Jimmie Johnson, you're starting 21st today. Do you have a car that can get you to the front, passing a lot of cars through the field?
Yeah, I really think so. those Chevys been really fast, and we certainly climbed out of a big hole at the Brickyard and come back and finish third. We waited late in round 2 of qualifying to put up a lap. We felt really good about the speed of the car. Had a little issue into turn 1 with overdriving it and slid up and barely had time to cool the car down and try to put up a lap in Q2, and just wasn't able to do so on hot tires. So unfortunate there. We're definitely starting in a bit of a hole, but this track and these conditions bring up a lot of different strategies to play out. Plus, I think we have a strong car. So we'll keep digging, and that's been the motto at Hendrick. So proud of everybody working so hard in all the different departments to find speed and create speed, and I think we're showing it. Maybe not as consistently as we want, but we're definitely showing more speed, and Slow's team's working hard, so we'll get there.
And you mentioned looking for speed. Over the last 5 races, Hendrick Motorsports as a whole has lost a bit of green flag speed compared to the competition. Average running position is down. Is there one thing that you guys look at as something that you need to work on, or is it just overall package finding that raw speed?
I think it's a little in a lot of places. In today's world, you can't just find one area that you're down and address that and find everything you need. So, the tough part is we're making sure that we can create speed. Now, that doesn't always produce an easy car to drive, and that can lead to crashes and other things. I think our group's performance shows better than the statistics do right now. We've had a few crashes. I know myself and Chase, I've crashed quite a bit over the last couple months, and that doesn't help the average, but we've been running far better than what the results show. I hate excuses. I don't want to make excuses, and we're all working really hard to get things right.
It's Jimmie Johnson and the whole Hendrick Motorsports team working to get back into victory lane. Krista?
Thank you, Parker. And I want to go back to Kurt Busch. When he won here in June, they had a substitute crew chief, an interim crew chief. Kevin Harvick in a similar situation. Rodney Childers suspended for this race as well, gentlemen.
Well, yes, certainly it's going to make a difference, but these teams are so good now that Rodney Childers is going to be a part of that through different ways that they can, but that might be the magic formula. Who knows? I was more shocked. Do we need to rewatch? So I think we actually had 3 drivers that did not mention restart.
That is
somebody
shocking.
not holding that sign up? What's going on?
Yeah, they didn't have that. They obviously didn't have the sign. But here's the thing. This is what I noticed. Jeff Gordon still dances better than anybody I've ever seen. He danced all the way around that.
And Marty, kudos to Marty.
Kudos to Marty. He kept going at it. Will you be in that car next week? He danced and danced. I think and then we look at Paul Menard, who came with a totally different philosophy than what they've been coming with. They just stayed focused on qualifying, put themselves in a position to start up front, and as we heard him say, easier to keep track position than it is to lose that track position. Or to gain that track position. And then we go to Jimmie Johnson. So critical, and points out how critical qualifying is. He said he made one mistake going into turn 1, which put them in the hole that they're in today. They had to force themselves, hustle to get through another qualifying session, couldn't put the lap back up, and now they're starting in a hole today. Dug themselves out of a hole last week in Indy, as he said, and got a 3rd place finish. But track position is king here.
That's Jimmie Johnson, a 3-time Pocono winner, so it shows you how difficult it can be. Hey, there's Carter McMurray having a little fun. Wearing a Cam Newton jersey. I guess when your dad drives the number 1, you sort of have to follow suit. We're going to shift gears when we return. Countdown to Green is brought to you by Sonic. Your favorites come together in the new $5 Sonic Boombox.
make a difference.
Good morning from Baja Beach here in beautiful Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That's right, I'm here for the Olympics, and I'm not alone. My friend Kelly Stavis is here. She's going to be covering diving. I'm going to be jumping around, showing lots of different fun stuff that goes on here at the Olympics. And standing right here on the beach, I'm 4,878 miles away from Pocono, which is weird since this kind of looks like Pocono, doesn't it? Coconut and all. Speaking of the Olympics, the opening ceremony kicks off Friday night, 7:30 on NBC. It's going to be huge. And I did a little digging. I know you guys love insider information. And I found out who's carrying the torch and lighting the cauldron. And I can confirm that it is, in fact, not Kyle Petty. See you guys soon. Oh, that's delicious. That is delicious.
Oh.
Obrigado.
You don't know what a relief it is to see my best friend Rutledge Wood, because I swear he has a plaid Speedo, and I thought he was going to have it on the beach. I thought he was going to wear it. It's a great relief to see that he didn't break it out yet.
That's why you have to watch the opening ceremony.
Yes.
You never know what Rutledge might be
know.
wearing. I think he has it with him.
We're missing Rutledge and Kelly, but yeah, we wish them the best, and we will be watching, not just for the plaid Speedo. Let's go down and hear from some more drivers. I don't even know how to transition to you at this point.
I already warned Ryan Newman what was preceding him.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yeah. So is our help here now? She gonna hold the mic? Okay. So when it's my turn to, you don't want to hold the mic? No. Oh, I'm really tired. She's not buying it. Are you buying a good race for the 31 this afternoon?
I think Caterpillar Chevrolet is pretty good. Best practice we've had here in a while. Much better than the first race here, but look forward to seeing what Mother Nature is going to be, a race fan or a not so much race fan.
How will this race change if you guys are thinking you'd only be racing the halfway?
Racing the halfway is one thing, and then racing to whatever lap the rain comes is another thing, right? So you have to figure out that part of it as well, which is just a matter of reading the radar and seeing what time it's going to come.
So what happens?
If it does.
It's going to come. Well, no, not the rain. The green flag's going to come, the checkered flag. What happens when Daddy drinks the Coca-Cola? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, and so in practice, how much progress did you guys make yesterday?
Really not much progress, because I felt we were pretty good from how we unloaded. We made one little spring change, and that was basically it. So just making sure it drove good. I think we did a 10-lap run, and then finished with a 6 or 8-lap run, something like that at the end on fresh tires. But felt like the Caterpillar Chevrolet was definitely in the hunt, and just look forward to getting to that first 15-lap competition caution, see what we got, and then go from there.
Assess what is going on. Well, I can tell you what's going on here. Some nice family time while we wait out this delay. Mike?
Jimmie McMurray's family's here as well, inside the coach. He's been enjoying a little extra family time before the green flag today. You were out there for the ride-along. How'd the track look?
Yeah, it actually looks a lot better than I expected. This is a big racetrack, but the sun has come out, and so that's helping drive the track a lot quicker.
What are your concerns today? The rain obviously has washed away the rubber on the racetrack. We don't know when the race is going to end necessarily because of the impending weather. What's on your mind as you go into this race?
Well, rain delays are hard for everyone. It's hard for the drivers, the crew guys, because if you knew when it was going to start, to me on rain days, I just want it to either rain or not. And this is a challenging place because you have these little pop-ups that show up every once in a while, and then it delays you another hour or so. So rain delays are tough, but our McDonald's Cessna Chevy has been pretty good this weekend. As an organization, we brought out new cars last week at Indy, and I thought both cars ran better. They both seem to be better here this weekend again. So I'm anxious to kind of get underway. The restarts here are crazy, and then it kind of settles out. But we've got a competition caution, so there will be a little bit of strategy, I think, at lap 15 with maybe some of the guys in the front versus the guys in the back.
You touched on it a little bit. Now, maybe last week was not necessarily indicative of your performance on the racetrack, but you've got 2 top 10s in your last 3 races. Do you feel like this team may be turning the corner right now?
Well, we have certainly got a little momentum going at the right time. The beginning of the year, we did a really good job of, I felt like, getting more out of it than we should have, and there were a lot of guys that had really bad days or made mistakes, had accidents, and it kept us up in the points. But the last 5 weeks we've run a lot better. Daytona was something kind of out of your control, but overall we have run quite a bit. We haven't qualified well, but our on-track performance in the race has been better than it was at the beginning of the year, so I feel like the momentum is coming at the right time of the year.
You know, the Air Titans are out there. They're drying the racetrack. It's going to be in pristine conditions when you go out there, but You know, we saw one driver here in the motor coach lot not too long ago working the rain tires, if you will. I think his name was Carter McMurray, a young 5-year-old. We've got some video here. How would you describe what he's doing here?
Well, I will tell you that a motorhome is an amazing way to live at the racetrack, but when you have rain at the racetrack, it's really cramped in there with 2 kids, your wife. So it's nice when you can finally get outside. And Carter loves driving this little car around, and he reminds me so much of me when I was a kid because all he really wants to do is tear everything up.
I find that hard to believe. You wanted to tear stuff up when you were a kid?
I think all little boys seem to like to find the limits of everything, and somehow he has learned how to back this up and then pop it in gear and ride a wheelie. And I've told him it's going to tear it up, but he doesn't seem to care. But it's fun to see the kids get out here and play. It's crazy to me, you know, Mike, when I think about when I came to NASCAR, the amount of kids in the motorhome lot versus where it is now. Everyone has had a child or is in the process of having one. And it's actually quite nice in the bus lot to be able to kind of go over and talk to other dads or other moms, and not necessarily about racing, but just about life in general, kind of why we're all here anyway. So it's really changed the whole perspective, I think, of the motorhome lot.
Very much a family-like atmosphere, Marty. You know all about it.
Yes, indeed, a family atmosphere, because I'm hanging out with the Harvicks right now, and Keelan's running around somewhere. He just ran off a moment ago. We'll get to him in a minute. I want to talk to you about your race car. Everybody in the garage area seems to point to your car as the best in the field. Do you agree with that?
Good. I hope we smash them today. You know, I'm just really proud of everybody at Stewart Haas Racing and all the effort that went into this week, obviously, with Rodney and his situation. So it's a great group of people, and just honored to drive the Mobile One car today as a part of the Mobile One Triple Threat program with myself, Tony, and Danica. And you know, we feel like we hadn't won enough races, but we're run very well. And you know, hopefully we can get things going in the right direction with the circumstances and finish off the year strong.
I got to tell you, for the guys in the booth, the Mobile One Triple Threat is kind of tough because they can't tell. Burton can't see very well anyway, but now they can't tell your cars apart.
Yeah, well, you know, I think you've got a lot of smart people running those little dial indicator things and things that pop up. So hopefully they can keep them straight. You know, Steve sees his golf ball well, so surely he can see those white cars going by well with a you know, a red dot or a blue dot or a gray dot on them. So they'll be fine.
I want to ask you, you mentioned Rodney's situation. You're able to go to the bullpen, pull out Dax Garinger, who has a ton of experience, which is a beautiful thing for you guys. But how difficult is it with Rodney when you don't have that face-to-face communication on a race weekend? Because a lot of it's nonverbal when you're talking to your crew chief, isn't it?
It is, and anytime you break that cycle of the way that things are working, I think there's also a benefit to that because it made us all talk a lot more. I know it made them talk a lot more, and it made them discuss things a lot more. You know, it's definitely not the way that you would want it on a week-to-week basis, but for a one-time situations, it's good for everybody to kind of get out of their element at this point in the season. Maybe not over the last 10 weeks, but at this point in the season, it's always good to kind of break out of that box, have to do a little something that you normally didn't do, and think about things that you normally wouldn't think about in a different way. So it kind of makes everybody step up a little bit and really respect the guy's job that is not there on this weekend.
Keelan keeps eyeing us over there, but he was in a little trouble this week. Time out for the go-kart. What happened?
Well, it escalated quickly. We didn't take a nap, or he didn't take a nap, and then he decided that he wanted to talk back. So we put his go-kart on jack stands. So the first thing we took away was the 4 tires and wheels off his go-kart, and it sat for a week. So he's not really eyeing us. He's really eyeing that puddle and wondering how much he can get away with and jumping in it.
So you're at that age where he's just seeing what he can get away with, right?
Yeah, and probably not the best thing for him to do because that's definitely not the game that we want to play with having a child that's out of whack and talking back and doing all those things. So we're probably a little quick to punish him, but I think that's the right thing to do.
Keelan, you can come over here if you want and hang out with us. We want to talk about how you got in trouble. He also got his golf ball taken away this week.
Yeah, he got a lot of things. The go-kart was just the start of it. He's got a picture of Rutledge on his shirt. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Does he have plaid on that?
Keelan, show him your Rutledge shirt.
You like? Oh, he's gonna be shy.
Yeah, he's gonna be shy now. But his mom has ruined him from the cameras. He doesn't like to have anybody take a picture of him. Doesn't like having anybody to video him. So.
And Delana's hiding right back here, by the way.
I don't know where he gets that from.
I know exactly. All right, Keelan, we do like your shirt. Show us your shirt real quick.
It looks just like Rutledge.
It does look like Rutledge. Some hairy beast running minus the plaid, right?
That's right.
All right, minus the plaid. Keelan wearing his Rutledge shirt, and behind that car, he's playing in the puddle, guys. So that's him. I think he's actually a burgeoning Kyle Petty, just disobeying the rules.
Well, when it comes
Every once in a while, you got to step outside the box.
Exactly right. All right, Krista.
When it comes to discipline, you think Kevin's tough. Delana, she's tough.
But I think the biggest punishment you can do to any child is make them wear anything that looks like Rutledge. Okay, I kid.
There he goes.
You know what? I tell you what. Kevin talks about the triple threat, talks about his qualifying, some of that stuff. You'll be able to tell which car Kevin Harvick's in, because this is the one that's going to be driving through the pack and headed towards the front. This is a place, they might be a little bit behind in their qualifying and where they were at, and Rodney may not be here, but this team is a team. That is the one thing that this team never backs away from. They defend each other no matter what. He may scream about the pit crew, but the pit crew will jump in your face in a heartbeat if you say anything about Kevin Harvick. They are a tight group of guys who are who are champions, and they're on their way to really assaulting that championship again this year.
Yeah, we're starting to see this Kevin Harvick come back to what we expected. They've had times this year that they've been running well, but not what we've come to know with this organization and this driver. They're starting to get that, and I think this week kind of ticked them off with what they did to their crew chief, and so they're going to dig down and go out here and work a little bit harder. But I'm going to tell you what, right now, what I want to do is start a petition that we're going to free Keelan and get his go-kart back. I mean, come on. Isn't that what parents do? When you've done that to your kids, you understand that.
That is perfect.
I like that.
Send Elena a tweet. Send Elena a tweet now.
She's going to be so happy with you guys. But, you're right. You talked about kind of being ticked off or what that did. I think we sensed that right in Kevin's first answer there to Marty. This team means business. A sense of urgency. That's a phrase that's been tossed around a lot this morning, but it all comes back to the uniqueness of this track. Let's take a ride with Jeff Burton.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pocono and the Nbcsn Toyota Camry ride-along car. I want to show you about shifting to Pocono and why it's so important. We see a lot of drivers shifting to Pocono for performance reasons. It makes the car go faster, makes more RPMs, but it also drives differently when you shift. So some drivers, they like to get in the corner and they like to wait forever before they shift. They'll shift way down here before they downshift. Other drivers, they like to fill the RPMs, and they'll shift a little bit earlier. When you do shift earlier, though, it causes a potential problem because you're going faster, you have more RPMs, and as you downshift, you again have more RPMs. So if you're not careful, you can give the engine too many. It's a delicate balance. As you're watching the race today, it's really important to be paying attention to how drivers shift. All of them have a different skill and a different way to doing it, but one thing's for sure, if you're going to win this race, you have to do it right.
And right next door to us, Jeff Burton. We've got him busy today. He's back up with Steve Letarte. Jeff, what else do you want to add about that uniqueness to how you drive this racetrack?
Well, first I need to defend myself in my eyesight. I feel like I can see pretty well. Now, I can't see you very well, but I can see over there really well. So, Marty's about my age. He knows what I'm talking about. But, listen, shifting here is a necessity. It makes the car go faster. And the reason why is because the straightaways are so long and the corners are so long. So if you didn't shift, you would be way low on RPMs because you'd have to put a gear in the car that wouldn't be over RPMs down the straightaway and blow the motor up. So that's why you have to shift.
Well, we always talk about driver crew chief communication. This is just one more aspect that comes into play. We talk about strategy here at Pocono, especially fuel strategy. Well, shifting really affects how much fuel these cars burn. So that's just one more handling characteristic and thing that implements how much you can push your fuel window. So it's one more challenge of the racetrack. How much do you shift? And just not as a driver, what have you been doing, but have you been communicating that to your crew chief so he understands how much fuel he can figure you've burned for that run?
And today, Steve, we're lucky enough. Casey Kane and his team, they allowed us to put an in-car camera in their car. So we're going to be able to watch Casey Kane shift. There's a skill to shifting. You don't just throw it in gear and hope everything works out. Watch Casey Kane's right foot. Watch what he does with his right foot during the race. He has to give it some RPMs as he enters the corner before he downshifts. If he doesn't, he can mess the rear end up, he can mess the transmission up, or he can blow the motor up because you have to get RPMs in the engine before you downshift. So as you're watching this race today, and thanks Casey Kane and your team for allowing us to do this, really pay attention, not necessarily just when he's shifting, but how he's shifting, because doing it correctly, if you don't, you can blow up and have major problems.
Okay, guys, I liked your explanation there, and Jeff, you used 2 words. I love shifting here. It's a lot of fun, but you used 2 words that I was not familiar with in my day's race. I like to get it done early, but you used delicate and skilled, and I was not familiar with either one of those. Somehow made it through. I can always remember when we went back from Pocono, whether I won the race or wherever we finished, they were like, why can't yours look like Ricky Rudd's or like what Elliott Sadler? They were so much better on the equipment, but fortunately I didn't ever tear too much up here. But there is, as Jeff said, there's a real balance to what you do there, and every driver's a little bit different as to how they like to go about it, but it makes it a lot of fun to race at this place.
And Dale, to be clear, I never won here. So, you know, I can do as I say, not as I do. That's the first thing I think of when I think about Pocono.
Well, you did it all while talking, which was I was very impressed with. But
and for me, that's great.
Yeah.
2 things at once.
Well, and when you shift is not just about hurting your equipment as well. You can really affect how your car handles. The earlier you shift, it seems to want to rotate the car into the corner, Dale. So you know as well as anybody how tight you can get across the tunnel turn. We heard cars yesterday in practice staying in 4th gear, their car would be tight. Downshift in 3rd, it would be loose. There was that balance of one more tool the driver has to affect the balance.
Yeah, and you know what? I go back to the very beginning of shifting. Bobby Allison was the first guy I ever saw shift up here. But shifting was totally different then. And as you would shift early and use the engine and RPMs to slow the thing down to get into the first corner, and then you would run around the racetrack and upshift about the start-finish line back to 4th. It was one shift, and it was basically an overdrive is what we called it at the time. Now it's totally different, and as Steve just said, it is that delicate balance. You can upset the car, how you get in the corner, how you go back to the gas. We'll watch Casey just blurp it just a little bit to make sure the thing's in gear. I was terrible shifting. I tore out more transmissions than anybody up here. But it is an art that really takes these cars and gets everything out of them you can, because you're right there on the top RPM.
Well, and if shifting alone isn't complicated enough, we're also at one of the tracks that braking is probably the most difficult to manage. Not because you use the most brakes at Pocono, you use a lot of brakes at Watkins Glen, at Martinsville, at Richmond, but at Pocono, you use a tremendous amount of brake and then connect those corners with these very long straightaways, which get the brakes then to cool. So we've seen in the past, we've seen brake failures, brake fade, all kinds of brake issues. So that, on top of shifting, has a lot going on corner entry. Not only does the driver have to be very efficient with his downshift, as we've mentioned, and not tear up his equipment, he also has to pay attention to his brake usage and make sure he keeps his brakes in control and at their best condition for all 160 laps.
Yeah, the other thing that shifting does, if you think about it, is there's a lot of people in the garage that have told us this weekend that they believe shifting has helped lower the gap a little bit between Toyota and everybody else. That being able to shift helps the other manufacturers in the RPM range that they want to be in. And if you look at results, it kind of says yes, they're right about that. So it does change the game a little bit. If you go back to Indy last week, they weren't shifting, but here they will shift. So some teams truly believe that that's an advantage to them, and it in some way hurts the Toyotas. We'll see when the race is over. You know, I don't know, but we'll see when the race is over. But there's a lot of belief that that's going to help the other manufacturers.
Well, just another reason you have to watch this race. And, hey, we have proof that you guys actually not only watched the pre-race show, but you were listening. When we were just interviewing Kevin Harvick, that's Steve Letart's reaction. What is that, to the golf? Is that what you
everybody could see his golf ball.
It made me feel good that Kevin Harvick knew that my eyesight was good on the golf course, because I took that as a compliment to my golf game, even if it was unintended.
I like that y'all are trying to make this feel good, but that was actually from the comment that the way to punish a kid is to put Rudd on their shirt. That was
Perfect.
All right, we know you guys are about to be busy. We're going to have you guys join us in just a little bit. But in the meantime, there's more drivers to hear from as well. Parker, who have you got?
I'm with a driver who says he can actually beat Steve at golf. Oh, you know what? But I want to talk about actually driving race cars, not golf driving, whatever you want to call that. Let's talk about shifting. We just had a little bit of discussion about it. For yourself, where are you shifting? Take us for a lap and kind of where you're using the gears and where it works to your advantage.
For us, you know, we came with a little different package this year. And tested a few different ones in practice, trying to get the right, you know, 2nd and 3rd gears and 3rd and 4th gears that you want in the race car. But for me, I like to downshift really late, like right before I go to the gas. It's a lot easier on the engine shop. They're a lot more happy with me. You know, when they look at the data, you know, so a lot of people shift early into the corner and kind of help slow your car down. I like to slow the car down with the brake and then downshift right before I go back to the gas. In the tunnel, I try not to shift. If you got your car handling right, I think that you can carry a lot of speed into the tunnel and just keep your momentum up. Turn 3 is where I find it to be the trickiest spot to downshift. My car's a little bit loose on entry. If you downshift a little bit too early, you get really loose, but you don't want to downshift too late because that's the longest straightaway that you're coming onto, and you need to get back to the gas as soon as possible. But, those are the things that I think about when I'm going around the racetrack. And, sometimes when your car's not handling great, shifting can be a handful. But, I saw Rutledge shifted gears and went to the beach, so that might not be a bad idea coming up on our off week.
The beach does sound nice. Which beach would you head down to Rio for the Olympics?
No, actually, I would probably find a golf course somewhere, which I will probably find Steve and DJ, and we'll probably play some golf.
Golf does sound good. Let's just jump a little bit back into racing. I just want to talk about last week and the huge gain you had in the points to get back in chase contention. That's got to be a good feeling. But for this whole team, yourself and Trevor Bayne are kind of holding the flag for Roush Fenway to get yourselves in the chase.
Yeah, we're close. I made a big mistake at Kentucky, and we finished 40th and really took a big chunk of points away from us. I felt like that we could have, ran and had a car to run in the top 10. So that really killed us, but we bounced back at New Hampshire with a top 10. A decent weekend last weekend results-wise. We got a good start today, starting 14th. And, you just never know what happens in our sport. Late race cautions like last week breed more cautions, and then all of a sudden people you're racing for the last few spots in the chase can get in those wrecks, and then all of a sudden you can gain a lot of points. So you got to stay optimistic throughout the race. Always keep your options open, and stay on the lead lap, and anything is possible at the end of these things. So everybody's working really hard at Roush Fenway and trying to get our fusions faster, and we're doing that. It's all about now executing that and making sure we get the best possible finishes we can.
Ricky Stenhouse will be looking for his 5th top 10 of the year. Krista?
So a couple things we learned there. Ricky Stenhouse, I think it was an invitation maybe for DJ and Steve to go golfing.
I actually think Ricky and I might be playing golf on Wednesday in a little deal Denny Hamlin's having. So I don't know that he knows that yet, but Rick Allen told me that this morning.
He also talked about our Rutledge Wood. Yes, again, he and Kelly Stavis down in Rio. They'll be covering the Olympics for the next few weeks. Rut still there at the beach. And back here in Pocono, Keelan. Free Keelan.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Mom. There's Mom. Love it. Coming up, you're going to hear from Smoke, Tony Stewart, the 2-time Pocono winner, next. NASCAR Race View gives you access to features that let you follow your favorite driver like you're at the track. Get live stats, leaderboard, driver and team communications, and more on all of your devices. It's available now for an all-new low price when you visit NASCAR.com/RaceView. See that? That's blue sky at Pocono. We love that. Tony Stewart loves this track. At least he did in 2009. This was the second of his 2 Pocono wins. He also won in 2003. Today he gets ready to race here for the final time, and he is with our Mike Massaro live.
And Krista, that victory in 2009 was coincidentally the very first for Stewart Haas Racing. How much do you think about how important that was to this organization and getting it off the ground?
Well, I think it solidified what we did at the All-Star race, which was where we got our first win, but Pocono was the first point win, and you know, you get one win, they're like, wow, that was cool, but you get a second win and the first point win, and that kind of solidified to everybody that, hey, this team's for real and this organization's for real. So I'm proud of everything that Gene Haas and Joe Custer and I have built, and just looking forward to a lot of great years to come.
And there have been many special moments since that day. Today could be another one. You've got a great race car. I know your teammate Kevin Harvick also has a great race car. What's on your mind going into this?
Well, it's a cool weekend because we got 3 Mobil 1 Chevys in the field, so it's the triple threat they're calling it. So I'm excited about that. It's you know, Mobil 1's been an awesome partner, and this has been a big weekend for them. So I'm glad that we got cars that are running well, and they all 3 look good too. The only thing we're trying to do is make sure we keep the 3 of us separated from each other because the numbers are painted the same. They all look the same. So. Except for little details, but from far away for these spotters, it could be a challenge if the 3 of us all got together. So hopefully we'll all 3 be at the front, but separated enough that the spotters can tell who's who.
A challenge for the spotters and the announcers. Any advice from Rick Allen and Steve Letarte and Jeff Burton up in the booth trying to differentiate?
They're all 3 blind anyway. They're 3 blind mice up there, but
cool guys. We like you guys.
So. Take me around this track a little bit. It's a tricky track. They call it that for a reason, the shifting and what have you. It's temperature sensitive. It'll be a green racetrack. What's on your mind going into this?
Well, I mean, Kevin and I were talking about it. We want the sunshine. We want it to get hot and slippery. So, the challenge is you got turn 1 that the entry one's not a big drama normally, but the banking really picks up at the exit, and that sometimes makes your car loose, believe it or not. And then the tunnel's tricky just because it's kind of a dog leg more than it is a corner, and then turn 3 is a very long sweeping flat corner. So it's for the crew chiefs, it's a nightmare to try to keep the drivers happy. I mean, we're always complaining about one part of the racetrack or another. So, that's what makes it so special when you can win here. You've had a car that drove well at all 3 corners. You
know what else was special? The lap last week after the race with Jeff Gordon. What's it been like for you getting a couple bonus races with Jeff? I mean, you guys, your careers have intersected quite a bit.
Yeah, and, we want Dale Jr. back, obviously, and but I think Dale Jr. did a great job of picking a guy that we know is more than capable of getting the job done. And, Jeff and I both I was born and raised in Indiana, and Jeff moved there at an early age, and Jeff raced a lot. I mean, that's really where he got his roots in racing was in Indiana. So for us to be able to share that moment together was pretty cool. That scared me.
That was a little flyover.
Yeah, still scared me. But that was cool. It was a cool moment to share with Jeff, and that was, it wasn't anything that was planned. Some people thought NASCAR planned that, and it wasn't. It was the last caution we had before the end of the race. I had my spotter get a hold of his spotter and just told him, I said, I thought we needed to both take one more lap around this place because it's probably going to be our last, so we should do it together.
We're glad you did because it created another iconic Brickyard moment.
Yeah, it was a moment for me that was bigger than I even thought it was going to be. So that's a moment in my career that I'll never forget, and I'm glad we shared it with Jeff.
Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Let's go over to Marty.
Mike, I have to tell you, our entertainment over here with Brad Keselowski and I has been nonstop. Keelan Harvick is now laying in the water, as you can see, folks. So this has been fun because you have a daughter and not a son, right? So you can kind of laugh at poor Kevin over there.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said right now. But, yeah, I'm having a lot of fun watching. I mean, that's boys will be boys. So whether before the race or when we get on the racetrack, we'll probably have a lot of moments like that too. But, yeah, it's an interesting experience. Pocono, we got a little bit of weather. Seems like there's always a little bit of weather here. But we'll get through it and get on the track and hopefully put on a heck of a show.
I want to ask you about your sleep. What time did you finally get in last night after running the Xfinity Series race in Iowa?
Yeah, we got in about 2, but thankful, a late start like this, get a little extra sleep. So I feel good. I'm ready to go.
How about your chances for a victory today? I know you want to keep that train rolling, don't you?
Absolutely. Have 4 wins on the season is a great start. But, of course, nothing really matters till you get to the chase. Once you get that first win, anything beyond that is kind of like, well, it's cool, but it doesn't mean anything. So we want to keep going and get some more wins and keep up the cool factor, so to speak. But we also got to keep an eye towards the last 10 that really mattered.
What are the couple of areas that you want to get better at before the chase starts in September?
I think just all around. You know that everybody right now is at, kind of 80%, and they're going to turn it up when it gets to the chase. So you just want to make sure you have some to turn up.
When Kyle Busch has a dominant win like he had last Sunday, does that make the rest of the garage area go, okay, we got some work to do if that's what they have?
I mean, I think you'd be foolish not to. I mean, when you see an effort that was that strong across the weekend, you got to work on your stuff and be ready for the next level, the next upgrade. But the thing about this sport is it's always fluid, it's always dynamic. Things are always changing. The speeds in cars come and go with different rules changes and developments that the teams might have. So all that stuff can change in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and that's just racing.
It is certainly racing, and Keelan's still at it, by the way, laying in the puddle. Now Tony Stewart's checking it out, so he's kind of the highlight of the motor coach lot all of a sudden.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, I think Tony approves.
I think Tony would approve, too. We all kind of want to be him, just roll around in the mud, right?
Yeah, I do, too. Actually, I might go join him a little bit.
All right, first you should put on some shoes, okay?
No, I'm good. I got my Michigan gear on. I'm relaxed, trying to enjoy the morning.
Feel good about the Michigan football season this year, by the way?
Yeah. Coach Harbaugh, he's brought in some great people, and, we're pumped.
A lot to cheer for Brad Keselowski, and he's hoping he can cheer himself on to victory lane this afternoon. But first, he's got to put on some shoes, Dave.
Yeah, take the socks off. That's a good start, Brad. And yes, now you can go join Keelan. Yeah. So Biffle and I are here looking at that. We're not quite interested in doing that. We are inventing words, though, as a way to pass our time here. And so, engineer that he is, in his dreams, he has said interpolate. This is the combination of interpret and extrapolate. So how are you interpolating the Pocono Raceway this weekend?
Well, hopefully here shortly we'll be interpolating it. So we were talking about what we do, looking at the monitors and lap times, and I said you got to kind of. He said, "Do you know when you have new tires?" I said, "Well, you interpolate. You look at the lap time and figure out how much speed they picked up." So now we've got a great car. We didn't do a good job qualifying, and that's my fault. And we thought we were safe, so we just came back in. But we've got a fast car, and we want to get on the track to prove it.
And your crew chief, Brian Patty, did seem very confident about that race car. And Brad was even talking about the cyclical nature of the sport here. And we ask you quite often where the program is at with Roush Fenway Racing. So what do you see this weekend that's being applied here?
It's weird. Our car seems like it's got a lot of speed. And then my teammates struggling a little bit to find that speed. So that's unusual. We're normally all together, but our car has a little bit more speed. We've just improved and improved and improved over this year. Roush Fenway has as an organization. We've got Doug and the engine group have done a great job with our engines, the chassis shop, or in the aerodynamic department. We're all just making small gains. We call it stacking pennies, right? It doesn't all come at once, but we keep chipping away at a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and we want to compete in that top 5 again and race for wins. And we feel like we're getting there, and not as fast as I want or anybody else, but we're certainly making headway.
And what happens when you stack enough pennies?
You end up with $1.
See, math and word games. Parker Kligerman, get creative down here in the coach lot.
Well, Keelan Harvick may be popular at one end of the coach lot, but we've got Joe Scott here, who was actually splashing some puddles before he jumped on Dad's Brian's shoulders right here. Brian, this is your second trip in Cup to Pocono. Is this place starting to make any sense for you?
I hope so. This has been a challenging racetrack. 3 totally different corners, shifting. We do a lot of things differently here that we do anywhere else. And it always seems to rain, so this seems to be kind of part of the program.
He seems to be very interested in your hat right now. Are you able to focus on the job at hand with this distraction at the moment?
I think he likes looking at Daddy's bald spot, which he caused. I'm doing really good right now. I'm just trying to keep Joe and Brielle out of the free Pocono bathtubs that I saw Keelan wallowing around in. So a lot of fun getting the kids out of the motorhome lot, enjoying this nice weather while we have it, and hopefully they can cheer their dad on in the race here in a little bit.
You speak of the race. What are you looking forward to in today's race when we get going there? Do you think you have a car that can get you through the field?
I'm more optimistic about my car and race trim than I am about qualifying. Very disappointing qualifying effort. We've got the yellow Medallion Financial Ford tuned up a lot better in final practice. I think that We probably have a decent shot at a top 20, which as a team and a company we'll take right now. Everybody at Richard Petty Motorsports is working hard. We feel really good about our horsepower that the Roush Yates engines are providing. We just got to get our cars and our setups a little bit better so we can get up there and get some good finishes for this group of guys that's working really hard.
That's Brian Scott. If he gets that top 20, it'd be his first at Pocono. Krista?
And Parker, going back to Brad Keselowski, Dale, he was one of the guys in Iowa with you. He said he's having a good morning. I don't know if I want to tell him it's 1:50 in the afternoon.
Well, it's kind of all how you view things and look at it. So he's still able to get a little bit of rest, and certainly didn't get to have the run that he wanted last night. But looking forward, I think he will be one of the drivers when it gets down to the end of this race that we'll have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and Tony Stewart there. I think Tony's going to be a factor that you're going to have to look at. I think, I said before, not a snowball's chance that guy have of winning a race. And what he do, he's put together top 5s and top 10s and won a race, and he's peaking at just the right time. And it's his last season to come to some of these places for the last time. But these guys are going to be competitive here for the next 5 or 6 races. When we get in the chase, we know. The year he said, I don't even know why, I don't deserve to be in the chase. Then he went on and won 5 races out of the 10. So that's the kind of guy Tony Stewart is and the kind of team they have.
And he has one of those playoff tickets in hand. By the way, that flyover, those were 2 T-38s from Langley Air Force Base. And we're getting to hear from a lot of drivers when races are delayed. We also get to see a lot of their kids. And I don't know if DJ, your free Keelan campaign is going to work when Keelan's doing things like this.
And Tony Stewart's not going to be a help in that situation. I can guarantee you.
Yeah, he's lost his golf balls. He's lost the go-kart. It's over with for Keelan.
We're going to bring in those 3 blind mice, as Tony Stewart says. Rick Allen, Steve Letarte, and Jeff Burton coming up when we return to Pocono.
And welcome back to Long Pond, Pennsylvania and Pocono Raceway. As track drying continues from the tricky triangle, we want to break down a little of the storylines that we hope to get to today as the track drying continues. Of course, once that is dry, we hope to get 40 cars out there to race. Rick Allen, Jeff Burton, and the last crew chief to sweep Pocono, Steve Letarte. Let's talk a little bit about the weather. Obviously, that is the big topic right now. It creates a sense of urgency for teams and drivers.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you have to look at this race right now as it being a 200-mile race, not a 400-mile race. So the sense of urgency, as you mentioned, is definitely going to be up. When they drop the green flag, you have to be thinking about getting to the front as quickly as you can. And on the pit box, you have to be thinking about the strategy that can help you get to the front.
Yeah, and that strategy on top of the pit box is going to start early. We've heard a bunch of drivers mention this already. There's going to be a competition yellow at lap 15, so that's going to also break up the strategy. It's a way different race racing to lap 80 versus 160. So these teams, these engineers, these crew chiefs, they're going to have to become weathermen and decide how long we're going to try to race today.
But a completely different strategy depending upon where you start. For example, Martin Truex Jr. is going to start up front. Guys like Jimmie Johnson, Kevin Harvick, they start back quite a bit further in the field. Different strategy.
Yeah, that does change the game. And also the Busch brothers are back there as well. So we have 4 cars that a lot of people think will win this race that did not qualify well, which means, again, when the green flag drops on this race, those guys have to be charging exceptionally hard because they're going to have to try to race their way up as far as they can and then use their pit crews, use the crew chiefs to make the strategies that can get them the next step. But it is higher for those guys because they did not qualify well for sure.
Yeah, I mean, basically they're starting a chess game 2 moves behind. You know, the idea of qualifying well helps what you're trying to do on the racetrack. So the cars that qualified well, they have an idea, they have that track position. They're going to have to mess it up to lose it. But if you look at Kevin Harvick, everyone talks about how great his race car is. We'll see if it's good enough to drive to the front or how much he'll lean on that strategy.
So that's the strategy of the race. When you look at the bigger picture and we take a look at the chase standings, there's another strategy that comes into play here. Guys that are either at the cutoff line or below have to maybe gamble a little bit more than the rest.
Well, there's a race within a race, without a doubt, Rick. If you look at the below Tony Stewart, all the guys from Chase Elliott down to Trevor Bayne, they're playing the points game. So if you look back at Indianapolis, you have to be very conservative. How aggressive are you going to have to be? At Indianapolis, everyone was having what seemed to be a good day until we got in the last 20 laps, and then look, on board with Ryan Blaney, gets in a heavy accident, costs him points. Trevor Bayne gets into an accident with the 15 car. That hurt Trevor Bayne's opportunity to make the chase, and then Jamie McMurray had that issue on one of the final restarts. They're going to have to balance how aggressive they need to be. We know their potential weather. We know they want to win races. We know about strategy, but points still matter. This man standing next to me, he said it since the beginning of the year, points are going to matter.
And that guy right there is in a position to where he can make the chase. Let's go down and hear from Trevor Bayne. He's with Mike Massaro.
And Rick, he and I were just talking about the chase and the rest of the regular season, just 6 races remaining. How do you use these races to ensure that you climb up into contention and you grab a berth for the playoffs?
Well, not like I did last week. Watching that right there, that is not how you want to get yourself into the chase. So, fortunately, a lot of us made that mistake, and it didn't hurt us too terribly bad. We're still 14 points out, so it's doable, but we really got to buckle down these next 6 races to point our way in. You know, we're not really at a place where I think we can go out and steal a win unless it's a big fuel mileage race or something like that, but we just got to make the most of every weekend. That's kind of why we're in the spot that we're in right now, is just because we haven't had a lot of mistakes this year. We've been getting those top 15 finishes and kind of steady chipping away at it, and we've kept ourselves in contention, but can't do that like I did last week at Indy, and hopefully we can get our car faster this weekend.
As you say, you can't have a mistake like that or have something like that happen here today, so how do you approach this race?
Today, you know, we're kind of starting behind the ball a little bit. We qualified 29th, I believe, so we've got some work to do, but we're trying to improve. You know, you got to try new stuff. You can't come back the way that you did last time and expect to run better. So we brought some different stuff trying to make it happen, and it didn't happen. So now we go back to where we were last time, try to improve a little bit. You know, my guys, I've got one of the best race teams in the garage with Matt Pusha, Joe Williams, Roman up on the stand. I've got some great engineers and people working on my car. So I've got a lot of faith in those guys that we're going to get it figured out this weekend and beyond this for the next 5 races after this. But, you know, Roush Fenway's come a long way this year. To think that we're talking about being in the chase at this point in the season, it's a pretty big feat from where we came from last year. So I was watching Greg Biffle's interview earlier, and you know, he's talking about how everybody's digging in and trying to chip away at it, and that's what we're doing, and it's paying off a little bit, but we've got some gains to still make.
You've got a challenge here today in a very difficult and challenging racetrack, but next week a road course. How have you been preparing for that?
Well, I've spent a lot of time trying to prepare because I know that is not my strong suit. Growing up short track racing, I was not turning right a lot, so Sonoma was kind of a struggle for me. I think we finished 25th or something, and feel like if we're going to make the chase, that's one area I had to improve, and so I've been spending a lot of time in the simulator. I'm going to Utah Monday, Tuesday to drive some Mustangs around with some Ford guys, and then we're also running the Xfinity race next weekend, so I'm really excited about that to get extra track time on the new repave. Tested there earlier this year and had okay speed. I went up this week and watched the test, stood in about every grandstand you can stand in. So if any fans want to know where to watch the race from Watkins Glen, I can tell you. But I've just been trying to be a student of it again and try to learn how to run these road races and get the speed out of the car.
He's certainly putting in the effort, Parker. We'll see if it pays off next week.
Well, the driver on my side will be in that very race at Watkins Glen. But here today, you're starting 26th, Danica. But most of all, that's the coolest thing happening today, is that you're running a paint scheme very similar to your two teammates out there. Will be odd seeing double.
Well, yeah, double, right? Because I won't see triple because I'm in it. It's most difficult for the spotters, I'm sure. But it's also cool, I think, with Mobil 1 doing all three drivers at the same time. I think it makes much more of an impact. So they're a huge asset to our team and the technology that they bring. So it's neat that they did it all at one weekend. But hopefully we can get our Mobil 1 car up the field. We had a decent last practice yesterday. We were 13th, and you know, I think that it's fairly decent on speed. I don't know if it's not the fastest car necessarily, but I think we got a shot. And I mean, we're here at Pocono, where, like, you know, anything can happen. And we were talking about in our driver meeting after practice that it's probably going to turn out to be a fuel race on some level. So that opens the door for a lot of really crazy things to happen.
Well, you have a best finish of 16th here. Have you felt like this is one place that maybe you feel comfortable at with your background in open wheel cars and road courses? Is this one place that you've kind of gelled with?
Yeah, no, I think that's an insightful question. I mean, it is. It feels like, to me, a road course. In fact, I actually made the mistake of forgetting I was at Pocono and it's not a road course, just because it has such a road course feel to it. When I was talking about driving in the rain, like next weekend at Watkins Glen, if it's raining, we'll run, which, you know, we would be out there right now deciding when to come off the rain tires to slicks. But anyway, yeah, Pocono reminds me of a road course. There's not a lot of room to go too wide in the corner. Well, there's room, but there's definitely not enough grip in a lot of places. And then, you know, it's more traditional passing, getting runs and stuff. So, and all three corners are so different. So, yeah, I've always liked coming to Pocono, and I feel like there's been lots of occasions where I've been pretty decent on speed, but I haven't had great results here. And most of it's probably been my fault, whether I, you know, tap the wall and get a tire, cut a tire and blow it. I mean, that's been most of my problems when I've been running well.
Well, if you get to top 10, it'll be your first top 10 of the season. Dave?
So I'm with Meredith Ragan, and she's not doing a whole lot of talking these days, so this interview with her could be short, but she is big on smiles, and she's just gotten done with her nap. 4 months now, David. How has this precious one, added to big sister Julia, changed your and Jacqueline's life?
Well, it's changed my life a lot on Mondays through Thursdays, but I get to travel to these race weekends, and my wife Jacqueline, she's at the house, kind of a one-man band, taking care of two young kids. So our youngest one, Meredith, is 4 months old, so it's her first race. And my older one, Julia, she's in the motorhome taking a nap. And so the sun's out. It's a beautiful afternoon here in Pocono as they're drawing the track, so we decided to get out and let them have a little fresh air before we go racing.
She's getting some vitamin D here, and she's doing a really good job with that. She's also here to remind us that your new paint scheme this weekend has a little bit to do with our broadcast next week from Watkins Glen. Tell us about it.
Yeah, USA Network going to be covering the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race next weekend, so we're pumped up to have USA on our hood of our Dr. Pepper Toyota and having a lot of fun. I was actually watching USA Network last night. The Born Identity was on, so after the kids went to sleep, Jacqueline and I watched a little TV before they went to bed, and getting ready to go racing here. Our Camry's pretty decent for the day. Got some good practice in yesterday, and some good family time this weekend. We spent a little bit of time at the Kalahari Resort, a nice water park right down the road from Pocono. A great spot to come. Brandon Adalski and the whole crew here has done a nice job. The motorhome lot's got a nice playground, got a little dog park on the infield, so something we can come and bring the family to and hang out. And now that you said you had an 11-year-old girl, so that's the only reason my wife is trusting Dave with Meredith, because he does have a little experience.
11 years and no drops yet. No, I'm hanging on tight. Come on.
And we just touched
Mother
on the
cringing
fact,
over there.
Yeah, that David Ragan and Matt DiBenedetto both carrying the colors of USA. Coming up, because of the Rio Olympics, you will see Sprint Cup racing and Xfinity racing on the sister networks, CNBC, USA. USA, it's going to be next weekend, Watkins Glen, as well as Mid-Ohio for the Xfinity Series, and then the Xfinity Series from Bristol, USA, and back on NBCSN for the Cup race from Bristol. That's right. We've seen the sun poke out, and again, track drying continues. That's a great thing. We've heard from a Ford driver and Trevor Bayne, a Chevrolet driver in Danica Patrick, and I think a lot of people have talked mostly about Toyota and the dominance that they have had this season. 10 Sprint Cup wins already, most of all manufacturers. They have been incredible at the big races as well. The Daytona 500, the Coca-Cola 600, and of course the Brickyard 400 just last week. Loudon and Indy, 95.1% of the laps led. Toyota, they have been dominant. But you both mentioned earlier that shifting may level the playing field a little bit between manufacturers.
Well, there's a lot of conversation in the garage. And it kind of surprised me when we got here how many people talked to us about, they think that shifting here could help them in regard to the Toyotas. Now, I don't know if that's optimistic thinking or if that's actual truth, but the fact of the matter is the fact that you do shift, it does get your engine in a different RPM range, and you are going to shift down the straightaways as well. That is a very significant change. And there is evidence based on the first race here that can be some truth to that because, we did see Toyotas not dominate the race. So it could be some truth in it.
Well, and why I think there's more than just evidence from the first race. If you look at just this weekend, while a 78 of Martin Truex Jr. put a great lap up in round 3 of qualifying and won the pole position for today's race, I don't know if he's the favorite. We've heard a lot in the garage here about the 4, the Chevrolet of Kevin Harvick, the 48, the Chevrolet of Jimmie Johnson. We've heard about some Fords with Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano. So something has to be changing because without a doubt, Toyota has been the favorite. And not just to win the race. They've been the favorite to sweep maybe the top 2 or 3 positions of some of these races. So the fact that we have, it's odd to say, only the pole sitter in a Toyota. I really think that there's some truth to this rumor we're hearing that perhaps this helps the other manufacturers. But today, it's going to be more than just about speed. These teams are going to have to execute, and we've continued to see that well out of the JGR team. It'll be, can the rest of the companies keep up?
And one person who is enjoying the fact that it rained here over the evening and this morning has to be Keelan Harvick. He might be the only person, though, that likes rain at a racetrack, but this has kind of been the progression of Keelan today. Shoes, then no shoes.
I just hope he knows that we have this undisputable evidence of this heinous act.
I just hope that my son isn't watching, because even a few years older than Keelan, he'll be out there with him.
Look at the background. Tony Stewart egging him on. How about Brad Keselowski? How about a hug?
Who said drivers weren't role models, right? Look at that.
Hug for Mom. Thanks for helping out, Dad.
If you love crab, and who doesn't, then seize the day already. Crab Fest is NBC.
His 6th pole of the 2016 season.
Kyle Busch won the pole once again. Kyle Busch will win at Indianapolis.
Our Toyota today was strong. I think our Toyota tomorrow will be even stronger.
Kyle Busch has been legendary today.
Domination. This is your house, KB. Your house.
And the family theme continues as we go down to Kyle Busch, and Marty's down there with him.
And Brexton having some fun, and they certainly enjoyed last Sunday, kissing some bricks with the whole family. And I know you had that moment last year, Kyle, but he's a little older. I know he doesn't understand what's going on, obviously taking your sunglasses off, but what is it like to share the moment with family like that, Kyle?
It's pretty fun. You know, certainly we had a great weekend last weekend, and you know, we would love to have that opportunity here again this weekend at Pocono and check this one off the list. But, you know, we'll just see what happens today. And it's really nice that the Suns kind of come out and joined us here for an afternoon race of NASCAR action. But we'll see how we get going here in a little bit.
Rexon is wide open. He's dropped your sunglasses here. We'll give him back as a play toy. So he got a little bump on his noggin, doesn't he, from playing earlier this week?
Yeah, no doubt. He's a hard one, you know. He runs around and he takes after I don't know who, but he gets a lot of work done. So yeah, he's tripped and fallen a few times, and he's bumped his head a few times. So you know, I guess that's just the growing pains of being that little and getting bigger at the moment.
All right, let's talk about Brexton not wanting to kiss the bricks, by the way, and absolutely running away from the bricks last weekend.
Yeah, well, he wants to run away now. See,
we'll let him run away, but here he is with the trophy, and he didn't really want to kiss the bricks.
No, he wasn't so sure what all that was about. But you know, I guess neither was Leo Gordon. You know, he was probably 4 or 5 years old when Jeff won there and having the opportunity to kiss some bricks. So he's fun. You know, last week we tried to entice him with some Skittles and see if he wouldn't get after getting down there and biting the Skittles off the bricks. But he learned that his hands are just as good and was able to take them there and pick them up and chew them himself. So he was. A couple times he actually kind of looked back like, are they looking? And stole some. But, you know, having kids that young, they're really fun.
Everybody talks about how Indy is a telltale race, that you can really tell who's going to be good in the chase based on that race. Is that the full hand that the 18 team has and Joe Gibbs Racing has that you displayed last week?
I wouldn't say that that's the full hand. You know, I think that there should be some left. Obviously, with the way that we've run this year, we've always been fast. We've always been competitive as an organization and as Toyota. So we feel really good about our M&M's Camry here today as well, too. You know, yesterday was a little bit better in final practice. We weren't quite where we wanted to be, though, yet still. So Adam and I, we talked a lot last night about some more things that we can kind of work on and get better with today. But overall, you know, this year's gone by, and it's been really successful for all of us as an organization. And we look to keep that momentum rolling. And like I said, you know, we hope that's not everything, that we still have some left for this chase.
I know records are becoming almost a weekly thing for you, but did it soak in what you accomplished last weekend, sweeping the poles and the races in Indianapolis, something never been done in NASCAR history?
Yeah, it was certainly really awesome. I mean, I don't know that it's necessarily sunk in for me. I think it's more so something for down the road, years down the road. You know, people will remember that. And for one thing, you know, sweeping the weekend of poles and races at the same racetrack, but for doing it at the Brickyard, I mean, that was pretty phenomenal, pretty awesome. You know, I just dreamed of being able to win a Brickyard 400 years ago when I was a kid and starting out and being a rookie in 2005 and finishing third. I thought, man, this is so cool. It's the coolest thing in the world. You know, what would it feel like to win here? And it took me 10 years, I guess, to win the Brickyard 400, and then to back it up in just the second year and be able to go and get number 2 was pretty awesome.
All right, we're not going to let Brexton play in the puddles out here, are we, like we've seen Keelan doing all day?
I'm sure we will be to that point here at some time or another. I'm not sure if it'll be today or next year or the year after, but I'm sure we're going to have those days.
Be careful. You might have to pull the wheels off the go-kart like the Harvicks did.
I heard about that, and that's actually not a bad thing, you know. I thought that that's actually a pretty cool way of giving a little punishment. So I've had my wheels taken away from me a few times as well, too, when I was a kid. So I remember those days, as well as, you know, the Nintendo back in that day, kids, was taken away a few times. So some of these other guys are laughing because they probably were on Ataris.
Favorite Nintendo game, real quick?
Nintendo game? I always loved Super Mario Brothers 3. That was my favorite.
How can you beat Super Mario Brothers? Although Donkey Kong, I'm a little bit older than you. That was a good one, too.
Any of them games are always fun, you know, and it's neat when they come out with these retro games and consoles that you're able to put back on the TVs and play again. As all of us, you know, we enjoy those things. Other kids that I guess are probably, 12, 13, 15 these days, they're like, what are these games? These games are sad, but they were fun for us.
Rick, you ever have your Nintendo taken away? I'm guessing there had to be, at some point, a Nintendo taken away from you.
Remember, I'm very old, so video games weren't, I think, invented until I was way past that. Kyle Busch, only 31 years old, but it's definitely the kids' theme today in the garage prior to the start of this race. Keelan had a little bit of fun, well, with Tony Stewart in the background letting him know what to do.
Jamie Murray's kid's wearing the correct uniform, by the way. Look at the wheelie there. Let's see that Cam Newton jersey. See that, Steve?
Look at Dave. I can't tell if he's scared or comfortable. Oh, no, maybe he's comfortable.
Very comfortable. Let's go back down to someone who's very comfortable in the garage, Mike Massaro.
And with a couple of guys who could probably be my kids. They're that much younger than me, that's for sure. Chris Buscher, Landon Cassill, a couple teammates from Front Row Motorsports. Chris, I want to start with you. An interesting season for sure. You make the transition from the Xfinity Series where you were the champion to a rookie in this series. What's it been like?
A reset. Going from a really good season and feeling like we were at the top of our game there. And just starting all over, trying to build up to it, get the feel of these Cup cars, and trying to figure out how to get speed out of them each and every weekend.
And Landon, as somewhat of a veteran of the Sprint Cup Series, how have you been able to help him? What type of advice have you given him?
Well, I don't. First of all, you make me feel old by calling me a veteran.
You've been here a few more years than he has.
I suppose, but Chris is a pretty darn good driver, and he's been with a good organization at Roush, won races in the Xfinity Series, won the championship. So sometimes there's not a whole lot for me to teach him. I think it's more like we're just working together and leaning on each other. He has a really good feel for the race car. Like he just really knows what's going on. So it's really nice to be able to walk over to him and say, hey, this is what I'm feeling, and is that translating well with what you're feeling? And I know it's something that I can trust.
And I know you do trust him. We've been talking a little bit about families in the garage, and you guys don't have children here with you, but I know Chris has a couple of puppies, from what I understand. You've adopted 5 puppies, is that correct?
First off, I don't have children here with me because I don't have children at all.
Right. Well, your dogs can be children too.
Yeah, we have a handful of dogs. We have 2 dogs. My girlfriend and I have 2 dogs of our own, and I showed up to 5 puppies and the mom just a couple 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we got
just 3 weeks old, I understand.
Yeah, they're needing bottle feeding, all the usual shots, everything to get them going. It's been a lot of work for her. Luckily, I've been on the road a lot of this period of time, but it's neat. We're trying to keep them for a little while until we can get to the point where we can start adopting them out. We're not equipped to keep 7 dogs, so we're gonna stick with our 2.
Well, folks, if you need a German Shepherd mixed puppy, this is the guy to talk to. Now, talk about interesting plans for the off weekend. I understand you're going to Ireland. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm going to do a Ironman 70.3 distance triathlon in Ireland. Going to go with my dad. My dad and I like to train for triathlon together, and we love doing Ironman races. And he actually qualified to race in Kona, Hawaii, for the Ironman World Championship later this year. So to do a half Ironman with me in Ireland is going to be like a warm-up for his big World Championship in October.
A heck of a warm-up. And from what I understand, guys, they're also dragging along Trevor Bayne. Big trip. Parker?
Well, everyone's been talking about kids, but I'm with a guy that's childless at the moment. What's the deal?
I have no idea how I even got this interview. After watching all these previous interviews, and given the fact that my kid pooped out on me about an hour ago, I'm surprised that I'm on TV right now. But, man, I think we're going to get this thing in. I really do. I don't know about in as in entirety, but I think we could hear a V8 engine roar here soon.
If we do hear V8s, what about your V8? How do you feel about your race car and your chances here today?
Well, my race car is quite a ways back of the pack, but somehow I've got to get that automobile to the front of the pack, and the key to all of that is is being able to get this thing started. I think restarts are key. You know, you've got to be able to capitalize on that. You got to have a car capable of going. You know, it's such a difficult thing to balance on a track like this. Can it take off on a start of a run, but can it hold on? You know, I passed all these guys and stuck them in a bad situation on this restart. Now can I hold them off for this next 30, 40 laps over the run? That's the key to Pocono. You know, I like the restarts. I like that challenge, but you got to be able to put it in there in the situation, kind of take advantage, root and gouge on somebody and put them in a bad situation, and then somehow you got to be able to hold them off for that run.
And if you do get ahead of them, talk about just hold them off. Some of that defense you can play here is kind of unique to this place because you've got to hold them off, maybe off of turn 1 into turn 2, and then if you hold them off there, you're good through turn 3.
Well, we kind of saw what happens when you play defense last week. The offense usually wins when you're trying to play defense and blocking. You know, that's a part of it, man. You get those runs and you try to play a little bit of defense, and you know you're putting yourself in a vulnerable situation. But that's part of Pocono. Those restarts are wild, man. Once you come off of one and they're fanned out, I think I run over a drainage ditch last time, and it felt like I jumped 15 feet in the air. And I don't know if you've noticed, but these cars don't have much suspension these days. We have it, we just don't utilize it anymore. Those things are all on the ground, and when I hit that thing, it shot my spine through the top of my fire suit, and when I landed, the car didn't handle near as good as it did afterwards. So, you know, you just got to take care of it. Hopefully, who knows with this weather, that's going to be a big thing on these restarts. I think I've said restarts enough. They're going to be insane, and hopefully Burton and Steve, you guys will be able to keep us entertained and call this a good race.
Hey, actually, I want to ask you a little bit more about that restart where you talked about launching your car in the air. How'd you end up down there when you hit it? Did you feel like you were actually going to find yourself? Here we have it right here. We just want to ask you to watch it with us and kind of comment on it.
Yeah, I saw the 14 ball out of control and moving around. I thought he was going to save it, and then I think you see me. Yeah, this is me right here. Watch this. You don't really see anything, and then boom, do you see that the concrete, the actual surface come up? That was where my frame dug in when it landed. It was a pretty good jolt, but you know, it's part of it. I mean, everything's, you just look at that. Look how many cars and how wide you are. You're thinking, I'm clear down here, out of the way, I'm good. What?
That's 6 wide, you think?
Oh, it was at least 6 wide. Could have been 17 wide.
17 wide at Pocono. Clint Boyer is going to try to avoid jumping his car today.
A lot of things that we've learned in this segment of the show here. Landon Cassill, by the way, that 70.3 mile Ironman, that's 1.2 miles of swimming, 56 miles on the bike, and running a half marathon, 13.1 miles. That's a lot of numbers.
Are his parents punishing him for something?
There might be some punishment that he chose to go to Ireland to do that. Guys that are near the bubble, right on the edge, trying to get into the chase. Ryan Newman, Jamie McMurray, Kyle Larson. The race to be in the chase includes Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's outside of that top 16 now.
Bighorn Crew Cab.
Welcome back to the Pocono Raceway. NASCAR rolling into the Pocono Mountains, and we're hoping the clouds roll on out. Now, where we are looking over top of our television compound from the broadcast booth, it's blue sky. You see crews warming up. There is a dark cloud that's continuing to hover, but the track drying is continuing, and we are hopeful that we will be going racing if that blue sky remains.
Look at this. Pass for the lead by Chase Elliott.
Chase Elliott went all the way to the bottom, now swoops back up to block Kyle Busch.
I feel like we had a car that could do it today.
More laps today led by Chase Elliott than in the previous 18 races.
I wish I had been just a little more patient behind Dale. I felt like I made a big mistake there. The biggest thing is just learn and just be really proud that we had a group of guys that are willing to fight to try to get to victory lane.
While Chase Elliott didn't get the win here in June, his run to fourth was still impressive. And taking a look at the Chase standings, yeah, you see Chase Elliott comfortable on points. He still wants that win. Those drivers fighting for that 16th position, those are the ones we're going to focus on. Chase Elliott has been solid enough to keep him ahead of the battle for the last playoff spot, a battle that has gotten more and more intense as the summer has gone on. Over the last 7 races, that 16th place position has been held by 6 different drivers: Ryan Newman, Ryan Blaney, Kasey Kahne, Jamie McMurray, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And now, by just 10 points, Kyle Larson owns that 16th spot. Let's talk about one of those guys who is the name on that list. Mike Massaro is with him.
And that would be Ryan Blaney, who's right in the mix here, battling for one of those final playoff spots. What's it like right now, being in this position?
A lot of questions about the playoffs. That's all I hear, but I don't pay much attention to it, man. I honestly, I just try to go out every single week. Myself and my team, we try to, run to the fullest of our potential, and I think if we do that, that other stuff will take care of itself. So we just want to go out and try to win a race, win races, and do the best we can to try to accomplish that.
I kind of chuckled when I asked that question because I know your crew chief, Jeremy Bullins, he downplays it. He won't talk about the chase at all. How does he keep you guys focused and keep blinders on?
Well, I think that's what our team does so well, is we don't really care about any of that stuff. We just want to go and focus at the task at hand, and then in the future that will work itself out. So if we can do our job here and now, everything else will work out. So we'll just go do the best we can today. Hopefully the rain holds off and we can get this thing in.
I think we're all hoping the rain holds off, and whenever we do go racing, we have good conditions to do it. But what are you expecting once that green flag flies?
Well, it'll be interesting. We had this situation in the first race here. We had a race Monday, but we had a green racetrack, and we had to adjust the cars for that. So that's something I think we kind of have a little notebook for. But hopefully we won't have to do that. It'll still be a green racetrack, but hopefully we can get in today. But I thought we had a pretty decent car. Motorcraft Quick Lane 4 Fusion was fairly good in practice, and we didn't qualify where we wanted to. But I think our race car is a lot better, so hopefully we'll be able to drive up through the field and find ourselves at the front.
This is very similar to what you experienced in June. How much did you find the racetrack changed from practice to race conditions back in June? Because I would expect it's going to be very similar this time around.
Yeah, well, at the beginning of the weekend it has no rubber on it, and then we spent 2 days trying to put rubber down on the racetrack, and then the rain washed it all away. So it's pretty much like the start of practice for us right now, and the track will be pretty slippery until it gets a little bit of rubber, and then it'll completely rubber down, and we'll have to adjust on our race cars till then. So that's something we kind of deal with every single weekend at the beginning of practice. We'll just have to deal with that again for the race.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks.
Ryan Blaney trying to get back on track here this week, Krista.
Yes, he is, and there you see those drivers' names who are all fighting for those 5 playoff tickets, those 5 playoff spots that remain. And we continue to be under, you see the overcast sky, we continue to be under a weather delay here in Pocono. Track drying looking good. Really the only issue, some weepers down in turn 1, which is customary at this track. The track crew, all of those jet dryers, Air Titans, working on that as teams continue to get loosened up. But back to the bubble boys, if you will. There have been 5 of them who have had points penalties this season. So it seems like as soon as they get an opportunity, sometimes that opportunity is sort of snatched away by their own doing, Dale.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go in. They try awfully hard. They try to maximize every single thing that they can. Sometimes that's resulted in some penalties. And for those, it seems that those teams that are right there trying to get inside, Kyle Larson is one of those teams. He just finally overcame that 15-point penalty and now has himself in that spot. But go back to what Ryan Blaney was talking about there. And he's trying to deflect a lot of that. Jeremy Bullins is crew chief, trying to say that's not what they look at. Certainly, they're much aware of that. I'm sorry, you can't not be. That's what your season is all about. But I realize also that if you focus on doing your job as the driver, as the crew chief, as a team, then all of that will take care of itself. But you can't help but look and understand your situation. And as a driver, you have to understand that because that could factor into decisions you have to make on the racetrack.
Yeah, exactly. And we know that Blaney is on the lower end of that. So he's got to make up points. He's well aware of everybody that's 10 points, 12 points, 22 points, 58 points. He knows where everybody's at. And when he's on that racetrack, he knows where everybody's at. It's really amazing when you look. There's 6 races left, and we saw that Chase Elliott is 60-some to the good. But he lost almost 48 points in a 5 or 6 race span before he had a pretty decent Indy. So you can lose a massive amount of points in these last 6 races. These guys have to be aggressive, but they have to be cautious too. And some days you just got to leave the racetrack and say, it gave me 5th place. It gave me 10th place. That's all I could get. I did the best I could and move on to the next race. You can't go over that line. And I think that's what we saw the 15 card Clint Boyer talking about earlier was playing offense, playing defense. Sometimes you've just got to settle in and play the hand you're dealt.
Okay, so we have a couple of rookies in that mix, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney. And even though they keep, like you said, sort of deflecting, does it have an advantage then for someone like Ryan Newman, who knows how to do what you were just talking about, Kyle, sort of manage what the track gives you?
You know what? I think it probably does because they've been there before. You know what I mean? You've been there before. If we go Chase Elliott, if we go Ryan Blaney, we go guys like that. First year, and I'm in the chase, oh my gosh, that's huge for me. That's huge for my team. That's huge for all of us. So when you look at that, they feel the weight of their team. They're carrying their team out there on that racetrack. Ryan Newman, he's been there, done that. He knows what he can do when he gets there. So I do believe that the experience is back again. The experience, you handle the pressure a little bit better.
Yeah, and I think you could say the same with Jamie McMurray being there. Even though last year was his first time in the chase, he's got himself back in that spot again. So he's got his teammate, Kyle Larson, right there with him. So Ganassi Racing is doing a much better job of getting their driver the type of equipment they need to be a part of this. The one thing that all of these drivers and teams have to look at are these next 3 or 4 races in particular that we have coming up. A lot of cars are going to finish on the lead lap here this weekend. Watkins Glen, there's going to be a lot of cars finish on the lead lap. Bristol is just go for broke, get what you can, and hope that it's a pretty good points day in Michigan. And again, another track that you can lose a lot of points if something should happen early because, or happen late because of a lot of cars finishing on the lead lap. So you really have to manage all of that. So these next 4, very, very important to those teams. They'll have to really be on their game throughout the entire race.
Yeah, and I felt last week, Dale and I talked about it, felt last week that was a race that a lot of guys were going to finish on the lead lap. And then along comes Kyle Busch. Yeah. Okay, so that totally changes the complexion of that race. But I do believe, just as Dale said, you can lose a lot of points. We saw at Indianapolis, those last cautions, we saw some cars that needed points taken out. We saw the one car, Jamie McMurray, there at the end of the race, had put himself in a good points-paying day, and boom, he ends up losing 10, 15 points right there at the end of the race. That's what these next few races can do to you if you're chasing those points.
You mentioned the complexion of a race, the complexion in the sky not looking great right now. That dark cloud I mentioned, it continues to hover. Good weather right now down in Rio, though we talked about, if you've been with us for the last couple of hours, you saw this. Our Rutledge Wood sending in a report. He's down in Rio covering the Olympics. But, hey, look, so is Kelly Stavis, and they are watching the show right now. How cool is that?
That's cool. That's cool. Where's Rutledge's drink at?
The coconut?
It's gone.
It's gone.
That's why he's smiling like that.
Our thanks to Rutledge and Kelly and all of you for watching and sticking with us as well. That's the newest member of the Logano family, the little puppy. We're going to talk to Joey coming up.
Proudly Propane.
Never something you want to see at the racetrack. This is what we saw when we got to the track 7 o'clock this morning. We had blue sky, but the showers are falling. 2 races this year have already been affected by rain. Texas had a delayed start. Pocono was postponed until Monday in June. We have not heard anything at this moment, so we will continue to hear from drivers. Marty, are you out in the elements right now with Joey Logano?
I'm under an awning, and we've been showing kids the entire rain fill here, so we thought we would introduce you to Luigi Logano. Very Italian name. How long have you had him?
Luigi's the new addition. He's about a month into it now. Okay. Yes, and it's a good thing he's cute because he's not real smart.
Right. He's chewing a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, he's chewing everything. He's been out here under everyone's umbrellas and whatever else they have. He eats whatever he can find, so I guess it's like a kid in a way, a little puppy. He's nuts.
On the cute factor, he's like a 10, though, right?
That's what I say all the time. Good thing you're cute, because that's all he's got going for him right now.
He does have a very vicious collar, though. That is a skull and crossbones. He's not that mean, is he?
We got to make him look mean somehow. He's so small, it's kind of hard to look like a tough guy walking around a little 6-pound dog. So he'll get bigger eventually, but for now he's got the skull and all to make him look like a cool dog.
Is this your decision or Brittany's? Who made the pull here?
Brittany is the animal lover.
Okay.
I tag along with it. But I have fallen in love with the dog, I will say that. But originally I wasn't on the big dog bandwagon. Now we got 3 of them. So, when you marry someone, you marry a bunch of dogs too in my case. So, but they're pretty fun.
Does he get chug points as well as you? How does this work?
You get chug points, bud?
No chug.
Is Coca-Cola okay for dogs?
I don't know. Yeah, he was trying to eat chewing gum earlier, so sure, why not,
I mean, I'm not going to drink this now, by the way.
Yeah. Well, you could. You would be a very good dog owner. All right, let's talk a little racing. Why not? So I've been talking to Todd Gordon a lot lately, and what do you think you guys need to do before the chase to get a little bit better? He said the bottom line is you need a little more speed, especially after what the 18 did last week.
Yeah, he's hit the nail on the head there. I think we've done a very good job of putting ourselves in position to win races, and I think last week in Indy is a great example of that. We didn't have the winning car, but we got ourselves to be starting on the outside of the front row on a couple restarts there at the end to try to beat Kyle and try to put him in a spot to make him make a mistake and maybe get that clean air and be able to win it. So we did a good job last week on the way we played the race out and the way the team's executing on pit road and all that. We just got to get a little bit faster. Those Gibbs cars showed their hand last week on where they're at. And I think they're fast again here today. So I don't think we're far off. I think we're a top 5 car, except the 5 cars in front of us are Gibbs cars. So we got to find a little bit more.
Todd's been making fun of you and I all day because we're both saying we're going to race today. But I still feel like we're going to race today, don't you?
I felt like it for a while, and he made fun of me because he says his weepers and this and that. And I said, I don't care. Let's just drive. And now it's raining again. I don't want to say he's right.
We can make it. Come on.
I don't want to say Todd. I always have to say Todd's right because he's just smarter than me, and he's more times than not he's right.
Frustrating, right?
It's very frustrating. It's like he's an engineer or something.
Well, he is.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why, yeah. All right, Luigi, get some chew toys there, buddy, all right? Good hanging out with you. And you don't want to say his nickname on the air?
Well, we make fun of him. He's got a lot of names, so normally it's Luigi, but he's kind of leaning more toward Lucifer at this point because he's like a little devil running around, but like I said, good thing he's cute.
Good thing he is cute. He is tearing up everything inside the brand new Logano coach, though. So that's the bad part of that. Dave?
Yeah. Speaking of cute, Marty, this is Matt Kenseth's idea of cute. Because who wouldn't play down here?
Well, Kaylin and Grace didn't want to come out and be on TV, and I felt bad because I have a baby or dog or something to hold, so they gave me a little baby doll. It was a little inappropriate because I wasn't dressed.
As we parents know, every doll gets the clothes taken off of it as soon as they can.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but yeah.
Yes, ma'am? She what?
I have no idea.
Yes, didn't have a dog or a child to present, and so I asked him to get one item from the motor coach, and that's what you came out with. Do they have a dog?
No.
Are you going to be getting them a dog now?
No. No. They've been asking me for a dog for several years, but they can't even pick up after themselves currently, so as soon as they can get that down, maybe we'll talk about having a dog.
And we can't find the doll's clothes either, but anyway. So I understand this week, in addition to racing, you again were on a bike. Now, the last time I saw you on a bike, it was with Jimmie Johnson coming down a mountain all the way back into a big city. This time, I understand Lance Armstrong was involved. Are you nuts?
Well, I've always been nuts, but yeah, it was a fun bike ride. So Jimmie invited me to go along with him to hit day 5, I think it was, of Ragbri, which I didn't know anything about it, but I guess it's a tradition in Iowa since like the early 70s. They ride from the Missouri River to the Mississippi River every single year across the whole entire state. And I guess there's like 25,000 bikes, and they close all the roads, and there's people on bikes and kids on Huffies, and it was the craziest thing ever. So it was really fun. We rode the route. It was 51 miles. But I was riding with Jimmie. And his pilots were riding with us, and they said, instead of doing half it, let's just turn around and ride back so we can fly to Pocono. So we ended up turning around and riding back, and I think we did 106 miles. So it was a long day.
All right. So as the rains pour down upon us here, let's talk a little racing. When we get there, what you got?
Yeah, I think Tuesday, hopefully our Dollar General DeWalt FlexVolt Toyota.
Our truck hates you right now.
Yeah, we'll be handling good. Denny's yelling out the window. It's raining. So I feel like our cars have had some speed. We've been struggling a little bit. Last race, I thought we had a really, really good car, probably best car I've ever had here. So Jason usually has a way of making great adjustments for the race. So I'm looking forward to, once we do race, see what we have.
All right, we're going to try to adjust the weather down here, maybe get some clothes for the dial, and these girls are going to get a puppy someday, I promise. It's happening.
Oh, I don't
You're in
know
trouble.
about that. And that weather does not sound good. But so Matt Kenseth was in Iowa. Dale was in Iowa. I was in Iowa visiting family. Did you know what Ragbri stands for?
No, please tell me.
Register's Annual Great Bike Ride Across Iowa. The Register is the Des Moines Register, the newspaper in the state capital. It's a party.
What's the circulation on that? About 10?
The circulation
15?
of the paper stop. Don't.
I bought one yesterday. Yesterday morning in Starbucks. Had drinking coffee. I read it. Yes.
I joke.
Read all about that.
They rode across Iowa. Call me when you ride across Texas.
You ride across the entire country. On the,
that's got a motor.
On
That's
the
got
Kyle
a motor.
Petty charity ride.
I'm going to tell you, Jimmie and Matt have been riding, and amazing what those guys can do on a bike. That truly is. To ride 100 and some miles, give me a motor. Give me a motor. I'm sorry.
So I don't know what's, we heard from Matt Kenseth, Joey Logano. By the way, by our tally, 29 drivers we've heard from since we went on air at noon. So
14 kids
over
and
half
2
the
dogs.
field. Yes.
14 kids and 2 dogs. Just keeping pace here. We're going to have to call Dr. Phil, because that's what I feel like I'm on right now, is the Dr. Phil show.
Hey, good news, Kyle. We're not done hearing from drivers, at least.
Yes.
Mike, who have you got?
Well, Krista, we've been talking a lot about drivers' children. Well, Casey Mears at one point in his life was one of those. His uncle is Rick Mears. His father, Roger Mears, kind of grew up around racetracks, didn't you? What was it like at that time?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, the racing was different. Obviously, I grew up in a lot of off-road racing, but, grew up with a lot of the other drivers' kids, were my buddies on the weekends, and then I would go back to my buddies during the week at home, so it was kind of like leading 2 different lives. But, I remember some really good times, like at Riverside. There was an off-road race there at Riverside that was a big off-road race every year, and the second biggest thing at Riverside was the water fights. So whoever could pay the water truck driver that watered the track the most would be able to get on top and use that gun. And so it was there was always some surprise attacks on other teams. So one off-road team would try to get a hold of this water truck, come over with water balloons and have the hose. And that was always kind of a competition behind the scenes. It was always hot in Riverside that time of year, so it was fun.
Yeah, I was curious if your parents let you, play in puddles and stuff like that, like we've seen here, but it sounds like you took it to another level.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of fun. And back then it was even more loose. It's kind of fun to see the kids playing around and enjoying it. It is, obviously having your family with you here on the weekends is a privilege, really, in a sport that we get to do. So it's fun to see them having a little bit of fun. And it does get small in these motorhomes at times, so it's good to get out.
Let's turn back the clock a week. Indianapolis, obviously a special place for your family, knowing what your family has accomplished there. What was last week like for you going there?
It's always good to go back there. There's so many memories. Obviously Rick having a lot of success there, but my dad running there in the early 80s too. And it's fun to relive that, and it's a very special place. We had a tough race there with the Geico Chevrolet, but, it's always special to go back there. And anytime you can be fast, when we sat on the pole there years ago now, I'll never forget coming off turn 4, shutting the motor off, to keep it from getting hot. And just hearing the crowd. Indy's very unique where there's, grandstands really close on either side. So when you shut it off and you hear it's a new track record and the whole stand go nuts, that was a cool experience.
The Mears family with another record at that racetrack. Let's talk about Pocono, shall we? Obviously, the conditions, well, they might be a little bit unpredictable whenever we do go racing. What are you expecting?
Unpredictable, really. If it is weather in and out, obviously we got that to deal with. But this racetrack kind of caters to a lot of craziness as well. I mean, there's not very many places where you can see a 10-wide restart. You know, and this is one of them, and we proved that. I got photos to show.
What is that like, by the way?
You're just hoping you get there before the guys next to you, so you don't end up 10 wide when you go into the corner. But you know, there's a lot of opportunity here to make major ground on the restarts. You know, anything can happen. It can be a fuel mileage race, but then again, you know, with all the cautions that can kind of happen at the end of this race as well, you got to make sure you stay out of the carnage. So with everybody knowing that there's so much to be gained on these starts these days, and you know how difficult it can be to pass, it seems like there's a premium on that these days.
And knowing it could be a fuel mileage race, do you guys do anything in practice to try to get a gauge on what you might be able to do to save fuel and get a better understanding when you go into the race?
Yeah, I think, you know, a lot of guys, we kind of think of maybe 3 different scenarios. You know, what's all out, you know, what's kind of a semi-save without losing too much lap time, and then what's all out, you know, and try to get that number in practice. And when your car's working well, which the Geico Chevrolet's been pretty fast this weekend, it catered to let us do that and go through that procedure. So we got a pretty good idea on our fuel mileage numbers. We know what we can run if we're running real hard, and we know what we can run when we're saving fuel, and that's always a good thing to know going into Pocono.
Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Set on over to Parker.
I'm coming to you from a golf cart right now, more specifically Michael Annett's golf cart. We're hiding from the rain that just actually stopped again. The sun is back out, but you were passing the time before I got you out to this golf cart by building Legos, maybe? Is that what were you building?
That's supposed to be an in-the-bus secret that we don't spread to everybody. But, yeah, my girlfriend's got a 6-year-old and 8-year-old, so trying to get them off the iPad, trying to get them, you know, doing, you know, things we did as we were kids, and buying a bunch of Lego sets each weekend that they come, and we kind of find ourselves in there building them more than the kids are.
Sounds fun. You also talked a little bit about you had to move your charity golf tournament here that you had coming up on this coming Monday, but why did you move it? Because you thought maybe something like this could happen here. Do we ever get rain at Pocono?
Yeah. Obviously we do a lot, and we got lucky 3 years in a row, and I just knew a day like this was probably going to come and bite us. So moved it to the Monday after Watkins Glen. You know, if it's doing it, you know, there a week from now, we're still going to race. So it's just a really cool thing, though. It's the 4th annual St. Jude Tournament of Hope, and you know, we've raised over $400,000 so far, and this is going to be the 4th year for it, and we're looking towards having some fun back in my hometown, Des Moines, in a week.
Well, let's talk some racing. We're here at Pocono heading into the race day here. You've had a crew chief change, which has given your team a lot of optimism. Looking at today's race, do you feel optimistic about having a race car that maybe can allow you to pass out there, which, coming from where you are in the field, is going to be optimal to get in front?
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have a car that can turn underneath guys and still have that rear grip coming off the corners. But I think the biggest thing is just go as hard as you can on those restarts. It kind of seems like here, you know, that's the optimal time to get as many positions as you can before everything kind of strings out. So, like you said, where we're starting, restarts are going to be key.
And when you talk about those restarts, is there any place specifically you like to be? Do you want to be on the outside? Do you want to be on the inside as you head off into turn 1? If you're on the inside 4 wide, is there one place that makes more sense than the other?
I was going to say I don't know if there is an inside or an outside on these restarts, because like you said, and like we saw yesterday, you know, they really are 5 wide going into turn 1. So biggest thing is just getting that momentum, getting through the gears, and trying to get that run on the guy ahead of you. And honestly, yeah, being on the bottom is probably optimal.
And I'm just wondering, since where I am right now, maybe I could apply for like the golf cart driver job. Would you let me drive this? We were talking a little bit earlier. Maybe we just take off at some point and just let me be the driver here. Might as well wait for this rain to go away.
Yeah, that's just going to, you'd probably be the third guy telling me I'm late for something or where I need to be. So we don't need anybody else, but you know, you're a heck of a race car driver, and I know you're doing this on the side kind of, but I'd let you drive me anywhere.
That's nice. Michael Annett says I can be his golf cart driver here soon if we don't get started anytime. Krista?
And Parker, by our count, Michael Annett makes the 31st driver interview you've heard since we came on air less than 3 hours ago. And we do have an update. Let's go over to next door to the other broadcast booth, Rick Allen, Jeff Burton, Steve Letarte. Rick?
Update is that NASCAR is saying this one will be postponed until tomorrow. The pre-race show will get underway with countdown to green at 10:30 a.m. and then the green flag we're expecting to fly right at 11 a.m. So obviously this is a tough situation for NASCAR, and with this racetrack being so big, it takes 3 hours to dry this racetrack. And so with the rain shower that just went through, racetrack got covered once again in rain, 3 hours to dry it, and then NASCAR wants to make sure that they have enough time to get the entire race in, which is 400 miles. So if you put that together, 3 hours of track drying and then about 3 hours of race, that's 6 hours from right now, which is 3 o'clock. 9 o'clock, there's no lights here. So they are not able to be able to get this started today. That's why we'll go to 10:30. So what are the ramifications?
Well, I think now, I mean, honestly, the biggest ramifications are for the race fans. Unfortunately, a lot of people came to the race today. They had a big crowd today. They're not going to be able to see the race today. Have to come tomorrow, and it's always really disappointing for the race fans. The teams are going to race no matter when it is, but so many race fans miss out and can't be here tomorrow or even watch on TV because they're at work. So that's the biggest disappointment and biggest ramification.
Yeah, when you look at the race teams, the cars are impounded. There's no work that will be done on the cars. They can't change the setup, so the teams just have overnight to sleep on it, try to work maybe next week on Watkins Glen, look ahead, try to stay busy, get everything organized, make sure you have everything prepared for tomorrow. But as far as the race car goes, it's through inspection. It's all set, and NASCAR will hold it until tomorrow morning.
One guy who's on the chase bubble right now, Kasey Kahne, is with Dave.
And he just got the news, Rick, and he just went to his phone. So what's the first rearrangement you make when you hear it's been canceled? Postponed.
I have a lot of rearrangements to make. This was my vacation week, so I was headed to the Bahamas right after the race tonight. Oh. So now I head tomorrow after the race. We'll go down there and enjoy the weather for the week.
Yeah, it should be good weather down there. It's always good weather in the Bahamas, right? So after the race, what do you expect out of the race from the 5-car?
Well, I'm looking forward to the race. I thought we ended practice a little better. I was still a little tight rolling. Under throttle, I felt really good. In entry, I felt good, but I needed to roll faster, and it got tighter quick. On our last run, we ran 10 or 11 laps, and I was getting tighter pretty quickly, loading into 1 and into 3. So we worked on that area, and if that helps, we'll be pretty good in a Great Cup Chevrolet. We ran 6th here the first race. It's always been a decent track for us, so I would hope we can get in the top 10 and go forward from there.
When the race moves to the next day, Kasey, what typically changes in terms of your preparation, if anything?
Not a lot, just a little further, just a longer weekend, which is part of racing once in a while with weather. So not a lot changes. I think the track's going to be much different the first 15-lap run, but we have all the cars out there at once, so it'll get back to where it was in practice pretty quickly, and then from there on, I think it'll be pretty normal.
All right, vacation will have to wait. Rick, you going to head to vacation anytime soon?
It's a vacation every weekend at the racetrack.
That's exactly right, pal.
Okay, so we look at tomorrow, lap 15 competition caution. Things really don't change strategy-wise for the teams, right?
Well, not really. It's still a matter of getting that track position by driving your way to the front or using pit strategy. You're going to have to use pit strategy because fuel mileage is going to matter. But then waiting for another night to race. For all these guys on the bubble chase, I'm telling you, right there on that bubble, that pressure's continuing to mount, and having to think about it again tonight, that only makes it worse.
Well, and you heard all the drivers talk about what the rain does to the racetrack. It washes the rubber off, it resets the racetrack, and while it will get there quickly, like Kasey Kahne said, with all 40 race cars on the racetrack, it will not be there for the first few laps. So when all 40 cars pile off into turn 1, 2, 3, and 4 wide, how much grip will the racetrack have? How quickly will it change? What adjustments will they need to make at that first early yellow?
How about Martin Truex Jr.? An advantage being on pole, clean racetrack in front of him?
Well, the pole is always an advantage, Rick. If anybody has the best chance to have a great race, it's the guy starting first. Martin Truex Jr., this 7018 Cole Pern. They have proved they know how to build fast race cars. They've had good strategies. He has to be one of the favorites, but there are a lot of cars farther back in the pack, Jeff. We've talked about it. Kevin Harvick, Jimmie Johnson, Kyle Busch that have not qualified as we expected. They're going to have to push and push early to try to get that track position.
Yeah, and we keep talking about this chase bubble and the guys that are trying to make their way in. Well, we're not considering the fact that other people could win races and completely tear that up. You got Paul Menard starting third tomorrow. There's a guy that's been fast all weekend. If he won this race, well, that completely changes the entire scope of who can make this chase and who can't. So a lot of guys have gotten themselves worked out of being able to get in by points. This is an opportunity. This race, with the strategy, with the fuel mileage, with track position meaning so much, it's an opportunity, just like next week will be, to go try to get a win.
And such a unique racetrack in the sense that there are 3 different turns here, very distinct as far as the way this racetrack is even run.
Yeah, and it all starts when you go down to turn 1. Coming off the longest straightaway in NASCAR, you have to get heavy on the brakes to go through the bank turn 1. And that can be very hard to do and very hard to judge.
Oh, no question. I mean, you're driving into turn one, you're going so fast, and the guy in front of you may slow down just a little bit more, as we just saw, and it's very difficult to judge that. We see a lot of cars run into the back of the other cars. That's not on purpose. That's just misjudging when the guy in front of you is braking.
Yeah, and then we talk about the entry speed of turn one being high. Well, the entire corner of turn two is fast. The tunnel corner is almost 90 degrees. It's a very sweeping corner. Let's ride along here with Brad Keselowski underneath another car, loses control of his race car, and look at this save, Jeff.
This is a great save. This is not what you normally see when you see a car that sideways in the tunnel turn. You're going to typically see a big caution and a lot of debris, but he did a great job of saving it. But that's how hard that tunnel turn is, going through there side by side. It's a challenge. Very difficult corner.
And then, yeah, and you look, not only is it a difficult corner and a fast corner, but a bumpy corner. Look at this left side skirt on the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. bouncing up and down. Sparks comes out of the back, and then you get through turn two, and you go to the long, sweeping turn three.
Yeah, turn three lasts forever. It's very flat. Very, very hard to get to turn three, but it's important because it leads to this long straightaway, and it gives you an opportunity to pass. And this front straightaway lasts forever. I just cannot describe to you how long it is, but then it leads back to turn one. So you're going over 200 miles an hour into a flat, very, very sharp turn one. So this is a very challenging racetrack in all corners and the straights as well.
And guys, you only do that 160 times.
How hard could it be, Rick? 3 completely different corners. If you make a mistake, you pay a penalty down a long straightaway. Welcome to Pocono. Oh, by the way, and don't mess up the pit strategy. It's pretty straightforward.
Again, a reminder, if you've tuned in to watch the Sprint Cup race, the race has been postponed until tomorrow morning. 10:30 will be countdown to green. Green flag will fly just after 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. Hopefully the fans will be able to come back and enjoy what normally takes place at either the start of the race or the restarts, because they are crazy at this racetrack.
Well, not only is this the longest front straightaway, it is the widest front straightaway. See here, Jeff, 2 and 3 wide.
Yeah, we see this every race. We've seen it in the last 2 races, too. Think about New Hampshire and Indy, how many wrecks we've seen on late race restarts. Here, because it's so wide, it gives you a huge amount of opportunity to make moves, try to get on the bottom of somebody. I mean, look at Kevin Harvick, but somebody's below him. Harvick's thinking, I can't get any lower. Carl Edwards is below it.
And why these drivers have to be so aggressive, we've heard restarts mentioned in most every interview today. It's an opportunity. It's a chance to gain positions. You can get a big chunk with one aggressive move, but Rick, you can also lose a big chunk of points if it goes wrong.
To get a reminder, some of you might be seeing the sun and saying, well, wait a second, why are they not running today or even trying to run today? Because of the time it takes to dry this racetrack. It takes 3 hours minimum to dry this racetrack, and then on top of that, they want to make sure they run the entire race, which is 160 laps, 400 miles. That's why the crews are going to take everything back to the trucks and get ready for racing tomorrow morning. So it'll be a little bit different in the situation that they will race in the morning as opposed to early afternoon. You tuned in for racing. We're going to give you racing. IndyCar from Mid-Ohio. So we'll go there now with Brian Till, Townsend Bell, and Paul Tracy.